Good evening, everyone. So happy to see you here this evening. I'm Dorothy Golding, chair of the Los Angeles chapter of ArtTable. I'm going to introduce Sarah Fitzmaurice, our moderator, and she will introduce the rest of the panel. So, Sarah.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm very honored to have been asked by ArtTable to participate this evening. I'm going to, with pleasure, introduce our three panelists. My introductions are going to be very short because I want us to get to the heart of the matter, which is the engaging dialogue that we will participate in tonight. So to my right is Nino Meyer. Nino is a Los Angeles-based collector, entrepreneur, and part-time art advisor and Instagram obsessed. Okay, works. Nino also has a background as an artist, which I think is interesting given what he does today. After a few exhibitions of his artwork, he then began to focus on collecting art rather than creating it, and he will talk to us in a little bit more about what he's doing with the market and technology. Melanie Edmunds is Artsy's gallery liaison, handling their West Coast and Southwest gallery and art fair partnerships and development. Prior to joining Artsy, Melanie was an art advisor specializing in contemporary art of the African diaspora. She has worked for the High Museum of Art, the Smithsonian American Art Museum, and the Whitney Museum of American Art. Welcome, Melanie. Christopher Vroom is a well-known patron of the arts and an active contemporary art collector. He is the co-founder, chairman, and executive vice president of Artspace, among many other endeavors. And Chris will talk more about his involvement in the art market and technology in a moment as well. So tonight, it's interesting because we're joined by a very disparate group of panelists. I think there could be another panel that is representatives from all of the key online platforms or collectors who use the different social media platforms, but we kind of have a nice representation of different aspects of art and technology in the market tonight. Melanie, I want to start with you because we're going to do ladies first.
Thank you.
Please tell us how you and Artsy are involved in the art market and in the online platform.
Sure. So just by a show of hands again, can anyone tell me who is familiar with Artsy, who's used the Artsy platform? Wow, impressive. Well, for those of you that are not familiar with Artsy, Artsy is the leading online resource for learning about and collecting art online. So Artsy has done, I think, a really beautiful job of combining education and commerce in one site. So if a collector or just an art enthusiast is interested in going online and learning more about a particular work of art or movement, or for academic purposes, or even purchasing a work of art and being connected with a gallery, there's something for everyone, from the novice collector to the student to the very seasoned, 30-year art patron. We're doing a really wonderful job, I think, of providing free access on our website at absolutely no cost to over 7 million unique visitors to date since our launch in 2013. And those visitors have access through our website and our iPhone app to over 140,000 works of art made by over 25,000 artists. That work is made accessible to us by, I think, about 1,800 galleries that have published work on Artsy to date, and by over 230 of our largest museum, institution, foundation, artist estate, and nonprofit partners as well. So the mission of Artsy really is to create a site that will provide access to the art world to really anyone in the world with an internet connection. We pride ourselves on accessibility, on learning, on teaching, and cultivating and fostering a type of generation of art buyer that is interested in learning, becoming passionate about the work, and then making collecting not so much just a hobby, but really a lifestyle. And I think we've done a really fantastic job of that so far.
Great, thank you, Melanie. Chris, over to you next. Tell us about Artspace and how you are involved in the art market online, because I know it goes beyond Artspace as well.
Artspace is a curated platform, and our objective is to bring together the world's leading museums, cultural institutions, nonprofits, artists, collectors, and galleries to actually sell work. So we are the only 100% transactional platform. Everything that you see on Artspace, you can actually do the research. We share Artsy's commitment to education and information. We do think that there's an opportunity to upgrade the experience of collecting art by providing the discovery tools, education, information. We've made a significant investment in editorial so that we can get people to become more comfortable with engagement with artists, with the many nonprofits that are doing wonderful things around the country, the great galleries who are supporting critical dialogue and offering works, and those are available for sale on Artspace. I started the business about 3 years ago. In fact, just about, our anniversary was about a month ago, after having had an experience of launching a nonprofit organization actually called ArtTable, which is committed to supporting artists directly in communities around the country. We just actually launched in Los Angeles earlier this year. We've given over $3 million to artists over the last 10 years. And our fundamental view is that artists are at the foundation of this whole creative ecosystem. We wanted to support them. And, that led, in fact, to founding Artspace, because all of these constituents, galleries, artists, collectors, et cetera, not collectors, but galleries, museums, and artists need ways to reach new audiences, and collectors need ways to filter the amount of information they're bombarded with online and offline. So, that's an evolution that led to the formation of Artspace.
Nino, how is your collecting and advising practice using technology?
Well, I actually also attempted to open an edition website about 2 years ago, which failed miserably, and noticed that the blog that I had associated with the website to make it more sexy and to gain readership for the editions got a lot more attention, a lot more traction. And so I started looking at other blogs and started seeing that I didn't just have to go to art fairs or art galleries to discover young artists, and started reading and following a lot of these young guys' blogs, and using one blog's link to another blog or finding an artist's name and really jumped into the web. And like the definition of the web, and it was a web, and it was a discovery, just climbing through the whole thing, to the detriment of my relationship at times, because I was focused on my computer for such a long time. And then came Instagram, which made it a whole lot easier because of a thing called a hashtag. And through being aware of certain collectors, galleries, artist names, was able to follow what they were doing, what they were looking at, what they were promoting, and clicking a hashtag if they were doing that and discovering what that was, or seeing who liked something or made a witty comment or a nasty comment, and looking at that person and discovering what that person was doing. And it's helped me not only promote things that I'm looking at, but also see what's going on out there in an array of cities and countries, and yeah.
So that brings me to a big picture question that I think when art online first became so common, the criticism really is that imagery online cannot replace the direct visual and intellectual experience you have when you see a work firsthand. Chris and I were talking about this recently. How do you each respond to that criticism, that skepticism that you can't replace the visual experience? Nino, it sounds like you have replaced the visual experience in some way. Chris, you're selling work directly from online images. Artsy's doing the same. Can you all talk a little bit about that?
All right. Well, I would say that the experiential aspect of viewing an art object is something that cannot easily be replaced online. And so I think that galleries and museums and other places that experiential viewing can take place is always going to be a preferred way to experience, to view art. And so I do think, however, that galleries have been selling art via JPEGs for 15 years. I do think that if you can't go to the gallery and you don't have the opportunity, either because you live in a different community or you just don't have time, I think it's better to at least have the information and to be able to learn about it in the variety of ways that Artsy and others facilitate that information flow is superior for everyone. And in many ways, the online experience can trump the gallery experience in terms of information and research. You can look at videos of artist interviews, you can understand their process, you can view their studio practice in many instances. So, you know, there are components where the online experience can augment in important ways the knowledge building that leads ultimately to engagement.
Thank you. I agree with you 100%. I do not think at all that being in a physical space and engaging with art can ever truly be replaced. But I do think that the amount of context and information that can be gleaned and learned from these online sites that are accompanying the work is invaluable. For people that, you know, may live in Tokyo and see a work of art that's in Los Angeles, to be able to have that type of experience, I think, is invaluable. To be able to see what's happening in art markets around the world is invaluable. Artsy has found amongst our own collectors or buyers on our site that the average distance between buyer and seller is 3,000 miles. So what we're finding is people are becoming a lot more comfortable with the idea of buying art online. But because it can't be replaced, I think that, you know, we're doing a really good job of providing galleries and our collectors with resources, such as our Artsy specialists, that are on hand in various markets around the globe to accompany collectors to galleries, to continue to provide them with that more tangible experience.
I read something when I started collecting that said, don't buy anything until you look for 2 years. And I kind of agree with that. I can look at a painting now, and if it has texture, kind of understand what that texture may do to me in person. You know, the advantage of the internet and technology and things like that is that there's high-res images. So if you want to see something a little more closely, you know, you request a high-res image and try to have that experience. But you cannot duplicate that experience like everyone's admitting. I think it's very, very scary. And I've made the error of buying things online and they arrive and are horrendous. It is, proceed with caution at times as well, I would say.
One thing that occurs to me is with all of the ability to see so much art online and for artists to put out their own work without a gallery or an art fair platform and for them to get direct feedback, could they change the art that they're making based on the feedback that they're receiving?
I think that social media has a tremendous effect on an artist's practice. I think when we're looking at the ways in which users are engaging with social media, I think directly about Artsy's editorial post feature. And we have a option which allows any of our registered users to be able to post content on the site, to share amongst their own social media audience, or to engage with other collectors and art enthusiasts. And I'm sure that some of those conversations are being picked up by artists and collectors and are definitely having some influence on who's making what and what it's being sold for, because there's just so much dialogue that's taking place in the online art market right now, and so much dialogue that's being generated as a result of social media, whether it's Instagram or Artsy or any other site, that I think that a lot of that trickle-down effect starts to happen and will eventually, if not already, have an effect on what's being made and why.
I would say that all information is good, and it needs to be processed in the right way. I think that of the artists that I talk to, because I spend a lot of time talking with artists, I'm hard-pressed to find one that has altered their artistic practice because of a crowdsourced social media game. I think it would be a pretty sad state of affairs if that were to happen. And I think to create an enduring impact on the cultural legacy of this country, that artists need to stick to their artistic vision while not being ignorant or too dismissive of what incoming information is they're getting. So I think all information is good, but too much weight shouldn't be placed in it.
So how has bringing art online impacted the supply and then the demand of the art market? And I'd like to start with Chris.
Well, I mean, I think that online is clearly an important and increasingly relevant distribution channel for art. I think that there are many channels, art fairs, galleries, auction houses, et cetera. The online visibility of art, I think has and will continue to expand the audience. I think that there are plenty of people who have heretofore not had access to great works and now can more easily both learn about them, research them, discover them, and ultimately buy them. So I think over time it'll increase demand. I'm not sure it has as much impact on supply, though it certainly enables artists independent of existing distribution systems to more easily access a commerce avenue than they were able to do, say, 10 or 20 years ago.
A lot of people are collecting art right now, and probably people that shouldn't. And I don't say that because it goes back to my point of I don't think they're educating themselves, and I don't think they're really asking themselves, what do I like? What fulfills me? What touches me? Oh no, my friend blah 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 tells me it's blowing up right now, so I should get in on this. And so the opportunity for somebody to go on any gallery website where they spend a lot of money building beautiful websites with sexy high-res images and detail shots and information, install shots, any auction house making these, Philips has like an incredible website that is incredibly engaging in terms of visual access. I mean, you just type in an artist's name and boom, you have any auction result ever on this guy. I just think it's there. It's creating a buzz. People that are, they don't make that much money are sending me links like, should I buy this? Finding it online. So yes, I think putting it online, being online has created it would not happen if we were still looking at slides and I would have to send slides to every single person.
Let's talk about transparency today and what that means. Is transparency through art and technology improving the market? Is it making it worse? You hear a lot about, it makes it harder for dealers, but better for collectors. Is it better for artists? Melanie, do you want to start?
Sure. I think that transparency in the market is a really good thing, actually. And I'm finding that when I talk to collectors, particularly artsy collectors, let's say at an art fair, when they have access to auction results and prices, they feel informed and empowered. They appreciate what we're doing to bring this information to the forefront. They appreciate the access that's being provided. I personally think that I understand that there are a lot of people that have very strong opinions about this and will probably strongly disagree with me. But in terms of helping, develop a new generation of collector, someone that really understands the market, someone that's really able to educate themselves across the board, to be able to understand contextually what it is that they're viewing and the value of it, and to be able to find out, something as important as the price and be able to walk in empowered with that knowledge, I think is very valuable.
I think that transparency and increased information and accessibility to information is indisputably positive for the collector. I think that it is problematic for certain, other segments of the art world that have relied upon opacity, and I do think that over time it's going to bring spreads down because increased information generally reduces spreads in markets. So I would expect to see that over time. And, the trade-off is you should have increased volume of business over time and a larger pool of people who are more comfortable participating in this ecosystem where previously they may have been uncomfortable because of the lack of transparency.
I agree with you. In terms of art being for the people, hence masterworks should be at museums and not in private collections and things like that. However, I work really hard to make relationships with galleries, spend a lot of money traveling to art fairs, talking to everybody. I think sometimes you need to work really hard. This is a job too. Collecting is it's an obsession, it's a passion. but it's a job. It's a lot of emailing. It's a lot of math in your head. It's a lot of, can I actually afford this? It's a lot of relationship building. I think that, I think the smoke and mirrors is okay. I think you earn your way in. When I started, a very famous collector, I emailed him on Facebook and I said, "You're my hero because I want to be what you are, which is a great collector." And he took the time and sat down with me for like 4 hours. And he said, "Look, you pick a gallery you like, buy something you like, but not too expensive, just get your foot in the door. And then start a relationship. And when you start a relationship with a gallery and a program and an overall vision that you really believe in, I don't think you need to hop and skip around the internet and from gallery to gallery. I think you can actually just work with one gallery." There's a famous case of one collecting couple that have an amazing collection that worked with one gallery for a very long time and obviously, you know, opened their eyes after a while. But I'm just saying that I think that you having inside information and a little bit of an advantage when you make the effort and you invest your time and hard-earned money into a program, into a vision, into a collection, it's sometimes okay being one of the first to know what's happening.
I don't disagree with you. I do, however, think that sometimes these online marketplaces like Artspace or an Artsy can serve as an excellent entrance for people into the art market, because while this is a business of building relationships and cultivating those, that's how we sustain this. Sometimes people need an entree. They can't necessarily always walk into a gallery and say, "Hey, here I am, here's my check, sell me the work." And because of sites like Artsy that work with collectors and are making introductions, you know, no gallery is being forced to open up their collector base to any of Artsy's users, but we are making really meaningful introductions. And I think that those introductions are very important because that's how people ultimately build the relationships with the galleries.
Well, I would just add that, you know, the fact that there's more transparency doesn't preclude strong relationships from being made, you know, and ultimately the strength, one of the bases for any strong relationship is honesty and integrity. And if transparency causes a problem with those two elements, it's probably not a good relationship.
One thing that I think is interesting about especially the online art market platforms is analytics. You can gather a whole lot of data about who's buying art, where they're sitting, what time they're buying. How are you both using analytics at Artspace and Artsy, and what do those analytics tell you?
So our analytics, not divulging too much, but they allow us to see, like I shared earlier, the statistic about, you know, the distance between average buyer and collector. We can literally help galleries track every single inquiry that comes through Artsy to their site to determine where that collector is located. We can track how many artwork views each artwork is getting on our site. When it comes to art fairs, we are able to trace the exact same information, and I think that it's actually very useful for galleries, because I'm finding that galleries are coming to me after fairs and saying, "Hey, you gave me a really concrete idea of who was looking at my work, who was engaging with it, where in the world they were, how many times they viewed it, what type of inquiries they were making," and I wouldn't have access to this other marketing information or these tools otherwise. That in and of reason, I think, why a lot of galleries are coming to us. Not only because we're making, you know, obviously we've got like 25% increase every month of collector introductions that are being made, but now galleries have some really finite, concrete details about how to strategically market their business based on the numbers that we're giving to them. And they actually now know, you know, how they can increase their visibility online, which is something that I think, you know, as this online market grows, galleries are really getting hip to. The idea that having those eyes anywhere in the world on your art could really cement your program in history.
I mean, I would say from the perspective of Artspace, you know, we actually track dollars. So we know what dollars are being spent on the site. We track preference information, interest in artists, interest in medium. We understand price points. We understand first purchase, second purchase, third purchase. You know, we solicit inquiries for works that are off the site. And so, you know, there's actually, you know, quite a concrete economic relationship to the information that we're generating at Artspace.
I actually have an analytic Instagram following app on my phone, knowing who unfollows me. So if I post certain things, I get really pissed off or happy. I don't really care, but or it just wonders me. Like, oh, I put 2 pictures of my dog on my website. Oh, it's a couple of art people jumped off. I guess it's not interesting enough for them or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I keep track of likes.
Hi, I'm Victoria Burns, and I'm part of the organizing group with Sarah Jane Bruce and ArtTable. And I think what's important is to actually share with people, Nino, how you operate, because I actually don't think that was made clear tonight. So what is it that you actually do? Because you're an independent, you're sort of an outlier for these other two organizations.
So I'm not your average art advisor where I will walk with a client through a fair and try to sell them things on the wall. I actually like to find artists before they even have representation. And I do that by finding them online, on blogs, on Instagram, looking at an artist that I may like and seeing, oh, I made a studio visit with blah, blah, blah today, and then seeing that work, going to artist studio visits and seeing, sometimes they have 3 or 4 artists in a studio. It's happened before where I went to a really hot artist and I actually walked by the other studio and spent most of my time in there. And then what I do is I try to help them break into the market a little bit by buying their work, usually living with it, enjoying it or not. And when I enjoy showing it to other people also in person, having people over, and when there is an active engagement, I sometimes say, would you like me to get you one? And when I feel that there's a really active engagement, I'll try to buy the whole studio. And that usually is a figure between $1,000 and $4,000 for a work for someone that's never exhibited, fresh out of school, whatever. Then I will present it to my friends and or clients at a double markup. So basically, I earn free work from the artists by paying them from the money that I make by selling it to a couple of friends, and also basically acting as their liaison, introducing them to galleries, building their collector base, getting them studios, letting them sleep on my couch.
Does the Artsy or Artspace models see in their future that they'll sell works directly from the artists and exclude galleries from the process, or even go straight to auction?
We're partnered with 300 galleries, and we think galleries are a really important part of the whole ecosystem. There are instances where an artist is unrepresented, and I spend a lot of time helping artists make introductions to galleries, and to the extent that there aren't avenues that make that possible, then we'll work directly with an artist, and also we'll work with very established artists to market and sell works online that the gallery, for whatever reason, chooses not to offer. So, for example, Eric Fischel likes to sell the $1 Million paintings of Mary Boone, but has a raft of beautiful watercolors that are more appropriate for our audience, priced at a much lower level, and Mary doesn't want those. And so, we operate very transparently and in a collaborative manner, so we approach the gallery in an instance like that and say, this is what we'd like to do, and is that okay? And generally speaking, it's okay.
That's a good question. Unfortunately, I don't have the exact answer for you about Artsy's future plans. I know that for the short term, we're focused on continuing to grow our gallery presence, and our gallery program, I should say. So I don't know if at any point in the future we're going to necessarily start working directly with artists, but I know that through a lot of the editorial features that we have on Artsy, whether it's an in-studio visit that's being videoed and videotaped and shown on the site, or whether it's through something really interesting that's being written about the artist's practice and the artist has a voice in that. I think there are a lot of ways that Artsy is continuing to engage artists one-on-one beyond just working with galleries and museums. So I think that as long as we're continuing to bring so many powerful emerging galleries onto our platform, the artists will definitely have a presence and a voice.
My question to you, talking about Artsy, I only recently learned about you through my website or my computer, and I'm intrigued, but you're mentioning that you are dealing with thousands of galleries and thousands of artists. Did I understand you correctly? It's impressive and a little bit overwhelming. And what I mean, do you have any vetting committee or vetting mechanism? The fact that you can represent the gallery, does it mean that you know the gallery? You've seen the artworks?
Artsy has a very selective program in which we agree to allow galleries to partner with us on a permanent basis. The 1,800 galleries that I mentioned are 1,800 galleries that have submitted work to be published on Artsy for one reason or another, not necessarily to become a permanent gallery partner, but more than likely to participate in one of the 30 fairs that we've partnered with. So when you go onto Artsy and you see a preview for an art fair somewhere around the world, a lot of that content that we have on the site comes from those galleries that have partnered with us for the fair. But in terms of actually becoming an Artsy partner, we do have a very selective application process. So, it's invitation only, and we definitely vet the program and the quality level, that comes onto the site. We have a team of individuals in our New York headquarters that I'd say is about 4 or 5 people strong that weigh those applications, but they also take into consideration the opinions and feedback of our gallery liaisons like myself in different markets around the world. So whether it's a gallery in Hong Kong, here in LA, Mexico City, wherever it may be, those people on the ground are responsible for vetting that gallery as well, looking at the quality of their program, visiting with them, etc.
And if you accepted one gallery as your partner, that's the beginning and the end of your vetting process with them. After that, they can do whatever they want, and you accept any of their offer, any of their suggestion, any of the artists, or you continue to see what they're showing.
So we do continue to see what they're showing, obviously, and the work that goes onto our site is also vetted. So part of my responsibility is to manage the content that comes onto Artsy for my specific gallery partners. So everything that's submitted to be placed on the site sometimes may not make it on. So we're trying to, present the leading source for learning about and collecting art, and we try to make sure that we maintain a level of integrity and quality in terms of the work that we place on the site and the partners that we work with.
And I think it would be very interesting for us to know what is the price range that you work in.
I would say the range could be anywhere from 100 to 1 million. We have some really fantastic, I'm just speaking from my knowledge of the gallery partners that I work with here in Los Angeles, and there's a gallerist that I'm looking at right now who's recently joined the Artsy platform, and their work is very, very reasonably priced. And then we work with blue chip galleries like Gagosian that have works that are worth over $1 million.
We've got works listed on Artspace for sale up to $2.5 million, $3 million, but the sweet spot is really under $25,000. But we have sold works up to $200,000 sight unseen.
I just saw something interesting the other day, which you guys, I don't think, do on your website, is on Paddle 8. There's a work by an artist, a really small work, like half the size of this, retail $8,000, but he's very in demand. That thing went up to 60 grand. But you see how many bids are on the bottom, and you see the increment, and I believe it creates heat.
How much focus is on the primary market compared to the secondary market, and maybe the secondary market of new and contemporary and recent works versus the maybe older, modern and contemporary markets that Sotheby's and Christie's and Phillips tend to focus on?
Today, the market is principally focused on the primary market because we're dealing with contemporary galleries for the most part, so it's also focused on that period. Most of the works are produced after 1960, but there is a growing number of works on Artspace that are secondary market works sourced directly from collectors, and it provides a service to the vast number of collectors that have incredible works, but if they're priced under $100,000, the principal auction houses are not terribly interested in working with that material. And so, there are many, many fantastic works that, are available in that context as well.
So Artsy, the majority of the galleries that have a presence on our platform are primary, but we also have a growing number of secondary market galleries that we partner with as well, and we hope to continue to grow that presence. I think one of the really fantastic things about Artsy is our really knowledgeable team of specialists that work with collectors who are looking for, specific works that may be in the secondary market. So when folks don't necessarily know exactly where to go or what galleries to go to, they can work directly with those specialists and we can point them in the right direction to purchase those works. And the great thing about us bringing more of those galleries on the site is that we're opening up that market and being able to provide, those works to interested buyers.
To some extent, we know how Artsy and Artspace are similar. I'd really like to hear how you two feel that you are different. What really distinguishes Artspace and Artsy? Why should I go to one site instead of the other?
I don't think that you should go to one versus the other. I'd love to share the love and think that you can find something fabulous, just as fabulous on Artspace as you can on Artsy. But Artsy is, I think, a really unique site in the sense that, like I shared earlier, it has a really unique way of blending education and commerce in a way that I think that a lot of our competitors do not. Artsy is driven by world-class technology in a way that our competitors' sites may not be. We're powered by what's called the Art Genome Project, so it's very similar to the way that Pandora functions. So when users are on our site searching for work, based on even the simplest search term, this technology that maps characteristics of how artworks are associated with certain artists will allow the system to generate these very sophisticated and nuanced recommendations to users, and that technology doesn't exist on any other platform online. Artsy also has partnered since we began with over 30 international art fairs. And what we do, I know Nino is not a fan of this, but what we're doing is allowing these exhibitors to promote their booths on Artsy's site almost a week before the fair opens. So users around the world can preview an art fair in Sao Paulo, Brazil, Frieze in London, and have access, again, we're all about accessibility and transparency, to thousands of works of art that they may never come into contact with otherwise. I think, though, that Artsy, the thing that really differentiates us is our design, very sophisticated, beautifully designed website, and the really impressive technology that drives it. And the power players behind that, our team of brilliant engineers and art historians that make the Art Genome Project work, and I think are driving such great business that we're seeing, a tremendous number of collector inquiries on a regular basis and a really growing weight of galleries that are partnering with us continually.
So I think that the principal difference is that we are an actual e-commerce site, so we sell work. And we believe that the best way to grow our partnerships and to satisfy those partnerships and ultimately create a return for our business so that we can continue to promote great art and engagement with great institutions is by selling work, and that's a key difference that we have. So I mean that's fundamentally the business model difference. Artsy is a listing service for galleries. We are an e-commerce site that sells art.
Thank you so much. That was fantastic. Thank you all for being here, and I hope we'll see you on June 4th. Thank you so much.